737 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So much to talk about regarding the fact that, unfortunately, Metro Police Chief John Drake making the announcement over the weekend. It really wasn't a surprise. We don't have enough state resource officers to cover the elementary schools this year in Metro Nashville. Now, one of the lawmakers state lawmakers who has a passion for education and protecting kids is on the line with us, Scott Cepicky, who represents the 64th District, and he joins us now on WTN and the Newsmaker Hotline. Thank you very much for joining us, and let's talk about this because, I mean, you were one of many Republicans. It seems to me like conservatives have done our part to approve the funding. The staffing is an issue, and I would say that one of the biggest issues here is the fact that you have a lot of these folks on the left and progressives, and I did all of this in the 5 o'clock hour, but, you know, the disparaging anti-law enforcement attitude of the left means that not a lot of people want to become police officers these days, and so we have a problem with recruitment. Scott Cepicky, thank you for joining us here on WTN. What do you say to all this?
Well, Dan, you know, you're trying to unpack a lot there. And let me start off by saying this is in the General Assembly, we took a quick response to what happened at Covenant with appropriating massive amounts of funding for school safety, including SRO officers, school resource officers, Dan, that provide a level of protection for our students. And, you know, I understand the issues that Chief Drake is going through. I know that the superintendent, Adrian Battle, opposes putting SRO officers in elementary school. And I think this is a bleed off from that maybe Chief Drake has taken one on the chin here to cover for Superintendent Battle.
I've got to ask a question, if I may. I know that the Democrats, I have a really hard time understanding their line of thinking. Has she come out and actually said, post-Covenant, what would her, what's her reasoning behind not wanting SROs in elementary schools? And I hope to God you're not going to tell me because guns are scary.
Well, sort of a little bit. She has a policy and a belief that young children like this have a fear of police officers because of the things that they see police officers doing in their neighborhoods. And Dan, we've pushed back on that, saying, how about we create a positive experience with these police officers in these schools with these kids? If you've been to school, and I'll challenge you, Dan, you can come visit with me at school and see the relationship these young kids have with these SRO officers as being a figure in their lives of stability and respect. And it just perplexes us that we hear this from Metro Nashville. I can tell you this, Memphis has been extremely aggressive in trying to procure these officers. And these are deputies, Dan. These are actually deputies that are trained that could go out and patrol. And I think one of the things we need to look and ask from Chief Drake is why can't we move one of those SRO officers from these high schools to lower those numbers of schools and officers that you need to find to staff the elementary schools? That'd be a question I'd want to hear from them is why can't you move one to start to provide a level of security, like you said, for our most vulnerable population, our most vulnerable student population in these schools?
But see, what you said with Adrian Battle, that now makes more sense because what I was asking, not to belabor the point, is why would you, it seems to me like our elementary school kids are the most vulnerable. And so high school kids, they have a better opportunity to escape, fight back, hold the doors, closed, etc. So I don't understand. And so maybe what you're saying about Chief Drake and Adrian Battle, I mean, I'm not going to say it makes sense, but it makes sense. And I don't agree with it. It is something that to me is abhorrent, especially after Covenant, because again, not to again repeat myself, but conservatives have done their jobs. They put forth the money. They have come up with the policies to make sure that every elementary school and every school in the state of Tennessee has access to an SRO. And so it is incredibly disappointing Now, in your district, 64th district, if I read all the districts that have appropriate SROs, and I think your district has enough. We have Robertson and Murfreesboro and Williamson, Wilson. Most of the other districts across Tennessee have the appropriate SROs. Do you know how difficult it was in your neck of the woods to find to get all the schools covered?
Well, we started this process when I was on the county commission back in 2010, and before that, through our sheriffs taking an aggressive approach to making sure that we protect our students. It took us about 4 or 5 years to fully staff them to the point where now we have floaters. But I can tell you this, I've already talked to our sheriff down here, Sheriff Rowland, and he is going to aggressively pursue another layer of protection of SROs, that funding provided by the state, to even double up and create intervention teams to go into these high schools and look for contraband, vaping, things like that, to make them even safer. So we are going to double down in Murray County and make our schools even safer.
Do you think part of the problem here, Scott Cepicky joining us, by the way, and do you think part of the problem here is the fact that Nashville police don't make as much as, some of the other counties and districts across Tennessee?
Well, that would be something we'd have to talk to Coach Battle. All right, Coach Battle. Sorry about that. To Chief Drake about it, to see what his pitfalls are that is holding him. From what I understand is they're not even going to try to pursue this dam. Now that is what perplexes me is, okay, so you're telling me you don't have the staff. Well, what are you going to do to go get the staff? Well,
and I don't know if you caught my monologue, but I've been inviting the chief on it's been years to come on this show, and they've got an open invitation. I finally gave up, but I'm questioning the outreach. I'm questioning the outreach, and I'm asking the question because when you talk to these folks, they get little snippets on the news and so forth, but I'm willing to have a 60-minute conversation with the chief on what he needs and how can he put the city of Nashville in the proper position to succeed in securing these SROs. And it's like crickets. And I don't know what else to say about it other than it is extraordinarily frustrating. In our final moments, because I actually have John Harris who wants to comment on this as well, because he's got another part of this story that I want to explore. Is there anything else that you have to say about this as we move forward with this conversation?
Well, Dan, we are very concerned about this. When this bill passed the General Assembly, it was bipartisan and nearly unanimous except for 2 or 3 members who voted against it. And one of those members that voted against it is from Nashville. And we were very curious about that, about why that individual would vote against this. And so, these members sit on the Education Committee in Nashville in the General Assembly. I can rest assured that this discussion will be starting to be had immediately in Cordell Hall on things we can do to make sure that we provide all the necessary tools for Chief Drake to get these individuals into these schools, and whatever help they need, we will provide, but we will be expecting and almost demanding that they staff these positions to protect our children in Tennessee.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. State Rep Scott Cepicky joining us. It is 7:45. And John Harris is joining us, Tennessee Firearms Association. John, always great to have you on. We don't have a lot of time, but you were sending me some text messages in the midst of my monologue on this. So let's talk about this real quick. You heard Scott Cepicky and I talking about what is going on with Dr. Adrian Battle and what has been going on with these elementary schools. And part of what you texted me, so let's just delve into this, the Community Oversight Board. Now, this is clearly an anti-cop organization, so that's part of it, and also the understaffing in the police departments. Just go ahead and give us your perspective as somebody who has a good relationship with the police officers across Middle Tennessee.
One of the issues that I hear from friends of mine who are officers is that the level of support they feel, and I'm not talking Chief Drake. I think there's a great relationship there. I'm talking the mayor's office and the council, but that the level of support the officers feel from those political organizations really is, from a morale perspective, a disincentive to work for the Metro Police Department. One conversation I've had recently was specifically relating back to the march on Nashville that resulted in the courthouse burning and the looting of part of downtown Nashville, and Metro police officers were ready to defend the town. And they were ordered by the political branch of Metro government to stand down and let the marchers just have at it.
One of the things that I made this point in the 5 o'clock hour, I have a lot more time in that hour, but one of the things that I think is frustrating to me is the fact that we don't have the SROs. I don't believe that the outreach has been appropriate. They're using Rule 16 as an excuse to withhold the manifesto, so we don't know what's going on with that. We all know the battle. I don't want to necessarily relitigate all that. But from my standpoint, you know, they can't staff the elementary schools with SROs. They refuse to release the manifesto so that it can be examined and perhaps find out the motivation for the Covenant shooting. And so it's like trying to juggle Jello. Okay, well then what are you doing to protect the kids in the elementary schools? And I do understand that there are other things that they've been able to do, but it's just, you look at this and, I mean, if I had a kid in Metro Nashville schools in elementary school, I'd be a little worried.
Well, you should be. And, you know, and it goes a step further, as I messaged you initially, that the Lee administration, and he likely inherited this, but he hadn't changed it. They're talking about SROs and protecting children, but they are actively telling organizations, mainly churches, that run private daycares, so your pre-K organizations, that they're prohibited by state law from, at their own expense, hiring armed security to come onto the property and be in the buildings to protect pre-K. And you got to scratch your head with all the hoopla that the governor is putting out about SROs and $250 million to fund it, and then the conversation about, well, we got the money but we don't have the staff. And then on the other hand, the governor's administration is threatening child care facilities by saying, if you go spend your own money and hire an armed security officer to protect these children, we're going to take away your license.
What do you know, John? I've only got like a minute left, but what was the justification for such a stupid policy?
They don't explain it. They just point. The policy is literally in the published regulations of the state.
They don't explain it because it's unexplainable.
Yes, exactly.
All right. Thank you. John Harris with us, Tennessee Firearms Association, always a great friend of the program, and WTN. John, thank you very much. It is 7:51.